Just
Welcome to your awakening. Please take calm as your reality is adjusted.
Hello folks, welcome to Virtual Shamanizing with me, the Hairy Cookie Monster. It is Virtual Shamanizing, sort of. Yes, hello to the ravening hordes that are filling the chat room and clogging up the listenership. Yeah, let's just carry on regardless. Yeah, it's the 25th today, isn't it? Yeah, 25th of the 7th, 11th. Lots and lots of things I can talk about, but I'm probably not going to talk about it that much, really. It might be a short one. I've got some tunes to play for you. It might get a bit 90s, but well, we'll see how it goes. There's a few in there that were all about the same time, I think. Yeah. Anyway, hello. I gotta mention it, haven't I? You know, just simply because it's woven into the tapestry now, one way or another. Is the new arrival. I sort of, almost in passing, put out the suggestion, hypothesis, whatever, a while ago, that it'd probably be born around the 21st or the 22nd. It just seemed to add up for various reasons, numerological, alignment, astrological, etc, etc. Yeah, to me that just seemed it was more likely going to drop about then, and lo and behold, thunk, out it popped. I'm not going to go off in a mad rant about the royal family. There's plenty of stuff out there you can read and look at and whatever if you want to. I'm going to talk about it a bit, but yeah, I'm not really going to go into a rant about it. I think there's been plenty of ranting. Some of the videos I've seen and whatever I put up is just like, yeah. It's how shall we put it? It's definitely a circus. Seeing some of the crowds of just purely the reporters and the gawkers, the onlookers, well-wishers or whatever, most of them royalists, all wanting to wave flags and get a glimpse of the new little one. Sort of along that almost prophetic side as well. Yes, it is virtual shamanizing. It's sort of virtually emanating out into reality, into existentialism. On the night of the 22nd, it's been quite hot here in the UK. We've had quite a heat wave for the past week or more, a couple of weeks almost, and there's been quite a lot of sunny weather, even though, yeah, there has been the usual trailing, etc. It hasn't really been done to any great degree, almost as if they wanted to let the sun out for a bit. And this seemed to last, certainly here where I'm living in the Midlands, it seemed to last up until around the 22nd. And then on the night of the 22nd, this is after the birth of the child, we had quite an intense thunderstorm here in my locality. I could hear it out to a distance of about 15 miles. So it was quite big and hung around for a few hours. There were some really wonderful lightning flashes, and the thunder was rattling the windows at some points during the night. So all in all, it adds lots and lots into my tunnel reality delusion. There is more than just what meets the eye going on here. Yes, and sort of along those lines, I want to play a bunch of stuff for you. you might not like the first one too much. It seems to creep out everyone I play it to. It creeps me out, but it just... I remember I played it once before, several months ago, on these broadcasts. As with a lot of this stuff, if you listen to this stuff via YouTube, these various audio pieces, most of the time I don't include them because it usually causes copyright conflicts on YouTube. When I uploaded this particular piece the other day, after the birth was announced and whatever, it did exactly the same again. I've disputed the copyright claim on it simply because it is fair use, it's artistic, it's not money making, etc., etc. And so far there has been no repercussions back off that for my YouTube channel, so hopefully they'll let it lie and it can sit there being the weirdness that it is. But that's why, unfortunately, for those of you listening on YouTube, a lot of the time I'm talking about this, that or the other bit of audio clip or music track that I've played and you don't get to hear it. I do sometimes play tracks that are by artists or groups or whatever that are not tied to the music industry in any way, so they're like free copyright or free to play, or they want you to play them because it encourages people to go and download, etc. Yeah, it's contrary to the popular, the way it's presented to the popular audience. Music piracy is not killing music. It's killing the music industry, but it's not killing music. If anything, it's causing a flowering of creativity in music. There are so many wonderful artists that you can find via the internet that you won't find on a record label, you won't find in a record store, etc., etc. So many occurrences, certainly in reference to the media that is YouTube. There are so many occurrences of where you can go out and find somebody's home recording of them playing an instrument, or a little group of them maybe playing in their local pub, and there you go. Creativity available to you directly, audience participation involved in that creative process. Doesn't require an industry. The music industry is another big chugging wheel in that machine. Yes, anyway, before I digress, so this might, some of it certainly is going to end up getting cut out of the YouTube version, but for those of you listening to the broadcast, you find this, if you listen to it on YouTube, you can find it on Caster. I usually do these broadcasts between 8 and 10 on a Thursday night, most Thursdays. I didn't do last Thursday. I had really bad toothache, so I just couldn't cope with trying to talk for the lengths of time that I usually try to talk for. Or I can't help myself talking for, I should say, rather than try to talk for. What is it? It's caster.fm, FTP radio. Is that the proper address? I'm sure somebody in chat room will correct me if I'm getting it wrong. Let me just look at my own link. No, it's ftpradio.caster.fm. Anyway, yes. If you look for it. I have recently been trying to catch up with uploading these shows, podcasts, things, whatever they are, to YouTube. So yeah, there has been quite a bit of a data dump of stuff onto YouTube. I don't expect anybody to go all the way through it. If you do, thank you for your patience and interest, even if it's just from a psychological case study point of view. This guy's a nutter, I could write a paper on him. Yes, anyway, I should get on with playing with these bits, and then I can talk more about what I wanted to talk about afterwards. I am endeavouring to try to keep my sections of waffle to around 10 to 15 minutes. It's just trying to take on board certain things. Like I've said many times before, I don't play to the audience. You get what you get. It's up to you if you decide to listen to it or not. But certain how shall we put it, methodologies or practices that may actually help me doing what I'm doing. So yeah, anyway, see, I'm doing it again, waffling off in a tangent. I'm going to play some weirdness. As I say, you might not enjoy the first bit. Most people don't. It is a bit creepy. And a couple of classic cheesy tracks after that, but I think you'll get the point. Get your fondue fork out, sit back and enjoy. I'll be back in about 10-15 minutes, something like that. Diddly bat, big finish. Yes, some classic cheesy metal for you. Like I said, it get a bit 90s. It might get more 90s later. Yeah, I suppose I should mention what tracks I played, shouldn't I, really? The first one was Welcome to Dystopia from Akala. And then there was that, like, mashup of stuff that I call Baby Omen. It's a mixture of the theme from the film Omen and the theme from the film Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, I'll come back to that. And Bark at the Moon from Ozzy Osbourne and Power Slave from Iron Maiden. Yeah, some good old classic stuff. Am I trying to suggest that the new Baby is a werewolf? No, not exactly. Am I trying to suggest that he is a genetic clone of one of the pharaohs? No, not exactly. But yeah, we'll get into that. The Baby Omen. Oh, I should as well first mention the Akala. If you didn't catch it, if you haven't seen it, listen to it. He did a little interview with Chunky Mark, the artist Taxi Driver. Go and have a listen to it if you haven't heard the guy speak. Just, not singing, not doing a music track or whatever, just him in interviewing conversations. Go and listen to it. Talks a lot about the history of the British Empire. Well, enough bits and bobs of that kind of history, such that hopefully it might help more people see that bigger picture of what is going on here. And the royals are a totemic epitome of that pyramidal hierarchy, that colonialist, imperialist machine. Yeah, Baby Omen. Several months ago, when the pregnancy was first announced, 9 months ago, whatever, it occurred to me, as it did, I think, to many people, the theme tune from The Omen, just springs to mind. Put the dog down, Damien. But at the same time, for me, I kept hearing that tune, that haunting, almost lullaby of the theme tune from Rosemary's Baby. Another classic film from that period that's to do with the Judeo-Christian theocracy kind of tunnel theme topic. But yeah, in my head, hearing things in my head, the two were both there at the same time. And I could just hear that even though the harmony seems almost discordant, it's almost a disharmony, but it's not quite, here and there. It did take a little bit of mixing for me to get the two to match up in terms of rhythm and tempo, etc. But once I sort of got that keyed in with the little editor that I mess with, you use Audacity. It's a free program, you can get it online. Go and look it up if you want an audio editor, an MP3 editor. It works with any audio file. Useful little program. Go and grab it if you haven't got it. Yeah, just playing about with it in there, and eventually I got them to marry up, and lo and behold, you end up with this creepy, like I say, almost disharmonic, bit of, I was going to say music, but yeah, it becomes something else. And then with obviously the news recently of the actual birth occurring, and the way the news media cycle just exploded into the circus of the perfectly timed distraction that they needed to fill up the airwaves, and for various other agenda reasons, yeah. It just seemed to me that no matter where you looked, you were reminded, baby, 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 baby. So that just then, like one of those horrible, brain invasive, mimetic, worm, viral bits of audio nonsense that you get stuck in your head. That was just stuck in my head. So I put that together, and there you go. That's the baby omen. Why did I play Bark at the Moon? Remember, this is virtual shamanizing. I'm trying to use sound, and yeah, I do use stuff that's mainstream media music that you could call mainstream media, deliberately, because to me that's all part of the cultural relevance and context of what is going on here, the big communication, the big ghost dance that is going on at the moment for the birthing of this new age, this Renaissance 2.0. The Bark at the Moon for me was representing this child, try and present a different sort of point of view to what I know a lot of the alternative media is already, putting out there, proselytising around. The amount of conspiracy theories that were birthed at the same time as this child was announced, it's going to become yet another whole genre unto itself. People debating over, is it a child of prophecy in some manner, arguing over what I mentioned earlier, the numerological coincidences. All this kind of stuff, which yes, I look at, I'm aware of, I take on board. I don't necessarily agree with all of it or accept all of it, take it as fact or whatever, but it's all part of the big tapestry of what is going on. For me, that track represents that this child has been born with a curse, or born into a curse. None of us in this part of reality choose where we appear. I know there are metaphysical and philosophical arguments, spiritual and religious arguments about us choosing who we are born to and such like before we enter into this reality. Yeah, that's all debatable stuff. The point is, it is for the way we experience this reality as is normally day to day, it is a roll of the dice as to where you are born, to throw guilt by association onto a brand new life by the pure chance of who they were born to, what family they were born into, the circumstances they were born into, etc. Yeah, like I said, lots and lots of conspiracies will be born, or have been born at the same time that this child was even first announced. A child that is victim of circumstance, born into a curse. His environment, whether he himself has the psychology, mentality, spirituality of somebody that would be inclined to that, let's put it in a cliched way, the dark side, then he's going to have a very, very hard time battling against his environment and upbringing and indoctrination to actually be able to be that person. He has been born into a trap. Again, that's why I chose those particular tracks. He has been born into a curse to be a power slave. I know and I acknowledge all the debate. I say debate because the evidence is partial and insubstantial most of the time. That the bloodlines of these people have been carefully crafted towards this point, like breeding racehorses. It's like breeding thoroughbred racehorses in the same way that those that pull strings and press buttons and control a lot of what goes on in the world, in the same manner as they attempt to breed us, to breed the mass populace, they also do the same with their own lineage, with their own bloodline, with their own genetics. This is where I feel there is a lot of good argument on that empirical side of the genetic drive for survival and success. I just feel it's only part of the argument. It doesn't address the whole of what we are and what we are experiencing. It's not just a DNA question or DNA argument. But before I rant too much, like I said, I wanted to try and keep into snippet sections, at least snippets for me, not like half an hour continuous rumbling, droning on. I've watched quite a fair amount of stuff recently, read a bit here and there, articles, etc., and documentation, whatever. There's been a lot more talk over the past few months. It's gradually grown into a prominent topic of conversation, talking about psychopathy and the sociopaths, and do we view these mindsets, these people that are in this rarefied environment, this separated elitist environment of the rulers, are they suffering from this kind of spiritual virus that could be described by in a contemporary sense as psychopathy, a sociopathy, get all my teeth in. Reading various bits and bobs, like I say, that sort of put that point across, and listening to various podcasts and vlogs, and commentary that people put out. Listened to a roundtable that Vinny Eastwood did a week or so ago, 17th of July. I'll put the link in the chat room. I'll read out the title in a sec. You can find it on his channel, Mr. News Guerrilla Media, I believe. Psychopath Roundtable, Thomas Sheridan, James Corbett, Jay Weidner and Vinny Eastwood. He's on the Vinny Eastwood show. He's a New Zealander presenting alternative media in various ways. He does radio shows and podcasts and articles and such like. Go and check him out if you don't know about him. Puts a lot of good information out there, and with a sense of humour as well. This is something that I do agree with him on. If you can't keep a sense of humour, a lot of this stuff will really drive you mad, because a lot of it is very unpleasant, very dark, and just negativity, like that big singularity that I often mention. Constantly drawing inwards, constantly drawing down and crushing into itself in that centralisation that not only we see it emanated in, for example, economic sense by the rise of corporations and their inevitable dominance. It is undeniable that you will eventually, if it's allowed to carry on the way it is, you will eventually end up with one corporation that monopolises everything, a one world corporatist system. Yes, before I digress, talking about psychopathy. So, could it be suggested that, as I say, I have never met this new being. It is a newborn being. It is still integrating itself into this reality, so trying to have a cogent conversation is pretty much impossible at the moment. My point being, we cannot say yet whether this new being already suffers from some form of mental or spiritual malady that would cause it to become yet again another one of these mindsets that seem to be convinced that they are mini gods, demigods unto themselves, and everything belongs to them, and they will suck it all into their singularity? Or will he be subjected to that due to his environment, due to his chance of circumstance, born into a curse of being a power slave? Yeah, like I said, lot of topics about psychopathy at the moment, and how it can potentially be, or it certainly can be argued that it links into, it can be viewed as a perspective to conceptualize it is that of the spiritual dark side, the reverse of what is healthy for the human whole, the organism that is the individual human and the body of humanity that exists in this biosphere. These mindsets have no empathy. I mean, this is taking it from the sort of clinical, empirical, even though there is no empirical evidence for any psychological problem. But psychopathy is classically described as things like no empathy, inability to care, lack of emotions, all that kind of stuff. These mindsets see themselves as being the only thing in existence, and attempting to control existence to their desire and whim. And part of that, I know, can be argued stems out of fear-based control, or desire to control from a need to protect themselves, or feeling a need to protect themselves. Obviously, it's a very big we shall see. This child has I could argue it is both a fortunate and unfortunate future ahead of himself. In many ways, he will be in a highly beneficial environment, because he will be cared for by the greatest experts in the land, and the most amount of wealth can be poured into looking after him and bringing him up, etc., etc. And like so many other children that were born at the same moment across the planet, how many hundreds of thousands of children were born at the same time, but because this one is popped out, I was trying to be careful with my words, was popped out, punted out into this circumstance that is in our relevance, the royal family, this monarchistic bloodline that we subject ourselves to. Yes, before I rumble off too far, I'm going to play you some more stuff. I'll leave you just with a couple of side notes. Well, with one sort of little quote, a quote of a quote. I like using quotes. They help, I feel, they help present concepts in a way that is obviously, evidentially useful to people, because otherwise they would never achieve the status of being a quote. If somebody says something that nobody really finds much use in, it's not going to survive very long as an idea, if you get my meaning. Yeah. The good ideas get repeated, therefore quotes become quotes, and most often cliches, because they happen to have truism in them that people find a value from. Therefore they pass them on and pass them on and pass them on, and they're kept alive in that mimetic sense. Anyway, yeah, rambling off again. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Hello, welcome back. Yeah, I sort of jumped straight into that music gap then, so if you're listening to this back on like podcast, it might sound a bit weird. Just all of a sudden Ozymandias, and then yeah, jump to something else. Yes, anyway, hello, welcome back. I want to just play The Clash, English Civil War, and Hazel O'Connor, Eighth Day, and in between there's a couple of little like mash-up jingle things. Well, the one is just a direct clip out of the original theme music for Godzilla. Why did I pick that, and why am I jumping from previous topic to this topic? Godzilla, Quadrilla, Quadrilla, Godzilla. You know, the two seem to merge one into the other. Phonetically, they are almost identical. Quadrilla, Godzilla. Now, if you're unaware of these things, if you don't take much notice of these things, there has been a new sort of what you would call sci-fi blockbuster, big screen, special effects laden film movie come out recently called Pacific Rim, I think, which is all part and parcel of what led me to these ponderings. Yes, you will have to come with me on a speculative stretch here to begin with, but I will, as I usually do, wind it back round into some of the stuff that I was rambling about earlier. Yeah, we'll go back and look at those bushes again, check whether there is any birds in them. This film presents a storyline of giant creatures coming through a dimensional rift in the seabed in the Pacific Rim, and how humanity has to put down its differences of the usual global geopolitical conflicts and work together to build giant robot war machines to fight the giant monsters from another dimension. For me, classically, being a sci-fi fan, etc., you know, I think I've watched every Godzilla movie they've ever made, if I don't actually have them on VHS and DVD or whatever, stuff like that. And to me it was it is, if just on an appreciative entertainment sense, an entertainment appreciation sense, it is classically a good sci-fi action movie romp. There's lots of special effects done quite well. The director, he's quite good at doing that kind of stuff, so yeah, in that respect, if you're into that kind of thing, you'll probably enjoy it. But how am I tying it into this Quadrilla? Quadrilla. If you don't know who Quadrilla are, they are the company in the UK that are pursuing the fracking agenda here in the UK. They already have quite a few sites set up across the UK, sites that are already ongoing and working, even though some of them have already caused earthquakes. Yet they are proceeding at a pace. I'm going to give a link in the chat room to, I think you put it up today actually, which was part of what inspired me to add all this in. This is from Sam Williams' channel, S Williamism. You'll find him on YouTube. This latest video he's put up is called Frack Master General, and he did some investigative digging into some of the people and companies involved in that fracking industry here in the UK at the moment, and its usual Machiavellian swinging door, revolving door, interwoven nepotistic crossover points between people in politics, or in power at least, maybe not directly in politics, but in positions of power, moving in and out and working with and helping to lobby and legitimise this industry as it's ongoing. If you're unaware of fracking, please go and look into it. It potentially could be one of the biggest banes for the planet at the moment. Certainly is going to be for the next several years at least. It's probably going to get a lot worse. It's going to cause a lot more water shortage, that's for certain, I feel. Arguably the what they call potable water, or potable water, the kind of water that you can drink, even if it needs a bit of filtering, but it's not salt water, it's not sea or ocean water, etc. That is going to become much more of a controlled commodity. Water wars will be in our near future. So in that respect, fracking, because of not only the geological potential dangers that it creates, there is also that danger to the water table because of the kind of chemicals they use in the procedure. So if you don't know about it, please go and check into it, and you could spring off into stuff, the topic of water itself and some of the absolutely amazing properties of water that can be shown in an evidential fashion, shown to be there. Anyway, yes, I'm wandering off slightly. It did make me ponder, like I said, stretching speculatively, it did make me ponder the timing of this film. I have speculated before about the potential connections in a cultural subtext pre-programming fashion of the situation as ongoing in Fukushima as compared to the classic Godzilla storyline. Because if you look into the sort of historic aspect, the cultural context of that film when it was first put out, it had a lot to do with the cultural implications of the use of nuclear weapons to the Japanese people, but at the same time it's woven into what could be argued to be an Agenda 21 style thread of persuading humans that they are the problem for the planet, that we are the direct cause and instigators of all the terribleness that will eventually manifest into some kind of nemesis which will come back to wreak judgment on us. That's what Godzilla represents, the Gaia's nemesis. Let's put it that way. I feel that's what it represents anyway. And like I say, the little bit of reading into the film, the original film, etc., I think that was what the director was trying to get across, that kind of aspect. So the timing of this film seems quite convenient at the moment with the situation as ongoing in Fukushima, and recently, just a day or two ago, there was an explosion in the Gulf. Again, another oil rig, an offshore platform rig, caught fire and exploded in the Gulf. A few people are actually tracking that situation and reporting on it. I think you can find news articles on ENE News on their website. It's one of the sites that tracks those kind of events. So again, are we being almost in an anthropomorphic fashion, is our attention and intent being redirected and reformulated in a metaphorical Orwellian remoulding of these real, genuine, natural world dangers that have occurred due to disasters, or whether it was done deliberately or not is beside the point. Fukushima is leaking radioactivity severely. It probably will get worse. It is ongoing. At least three reactors melted down during the original catastrophe, and they have not been brought under any kind of control. The situation in the Gulf is still very much ongoing because the original oil spill caused by the original disaster, even though it wasn't, you know what I mean, the main one that most people know about, it is still ongoing because the chemical they use to supposedly disperse the oil spill, the Corexit, does not do what they claim. They claim it gets rid of the oil. It doesn't. It just causes the oil to become heavier, to to form into globules and therefore sink. So when you float about on the top of the surface of the water, you think it's nice and clear and lovely, but it's not, because there's all this nastiness right down in the bottom. The amount of animal deaths and other problems it's caused to the animal environment around the Gulf is just escalating, ongoing and escalating. The number of aborted births of fetus animals, fetus mammals like dolphins, etc. is just, it's becoming catastrophic. So are they deliberately trying to remould your perception of what is actually happening, these disasters that have occurred in the natural world? I'm not trying to suggest they were natural disasters, just the fact that they have occurred and are occurring and are causing problems in our environment. Are they trying to remould that in a fantasy fashion again, to put it into a set of cultural clothing, a cultural meme archetype, the metamorphosis of a monster into this fantasized, unreal, up on a big screen, digitized image of a creature from another dimension that is trying to kill off humanity, so humanity should all work together to fight back, to build really, really big robot machine things so that they can blow up more stuff, basically, is what it comes down to. In that classic kind of base drive, in a masculine sense, the base drive of me build biggest weapon, me kill most people. Use of that dominant force meme again. So how am I weaving this into what I was talking about originally, with that born into a curse power slave, and what is going on with the situation in Fukushima and the potentiality of the Godzilla, the emergence of this mutated nemesis warrior fighting for the planet, for the biosphere, for Gaia. These themes are quite recurring, hidden in the cultural back shelf, the subtext, the cultural subtext that has been used to mould public opinion and thought along the agenda of Agenda 21. We are the problem, and we need to be exterminated, and your own death is justified at the hands of some big mutant beast because you're the problem, you're a virus, you're worth nothing but the biological meat factor you have of being able to convert what they call food into energy, which is then converted into products of labour, even if that's just shoveling dirt from one place to another. Biological robots. That adds into as well the transhumanist agenda of persuading people that their human bodies are useless, dirty, profane, weak, inable, invalid, as Akala uses in the lyrics of that first track I played, Welcome to Dystopia. More and more they attempt to persuade everybody, as many people as they can, that you should be desirous of finishing off your biological body, giving it up, throwing it away, or valuing it at being worth less than nothing. They don't want you to have an appreciation of your physical existence as part of the disconnect, part of the separation. A big part of them attempting to stand in between your direct connection from your physical existence into your spiritual existence. That flower connection, the flower of life flow as we emanate like aerials into this existence. I'm tempted to play aerials, the track aerials now, but I won't because I've got other stuff to play. sort of along this line, and weaving into why I played the Hazel O'Connor track 8th Day, that transhumanist aspect that goes hand in hand with, it's the running partner for the Agenda 21 agenda. Could do with another way of saying that. The 21 agenda 21, yes. The transhumanist running partner is that push towards getting everything digitized, everything in the cloud, everything online, everything virtual, everything an illusion of a real thing. Like I've ranted about before, using that classic Plato's analogy of the cave, the shadow play that is occurring on the wall of the cave. This is not something that is real. This is not something that has a physical, real existence. It is a virtual copy, a deception, a clone almost, but a clone that doesn't even have a physical existence. I'll put another link in the chat room, sort of following along from this. Thanks to Blue Bus who gave me this link the other night. It's some interesting photos or artist representations. Find this on a website called popgive.com. Let me open it up to get the proper title of it. The title of the article is "This is what Wi-Fi looks like." In these pictures, an artist working with an astrobiologist has drawn out or added into some real-world photographs some imagery, some extra graphics to represent what the waves of a Wi-Fi connection or frequency would look like. He's used pictures that are around the White House in Washington, and just using quite strong colours. He's overlaid like how the waves would spread from a transmitter, and basically how in the last picture on that page you can see that by the scale of the human beings in the picture, that you, no matter how tall you are, you would not be beyond being encapsulated by these waves. And we are rapidly, well, I say we, I'm not actively part of this, but the human race is going along with it. So most of the human race, the enough weight of the mass of humanity is desirous for this, therefore it is being implemented. This is being rapidly set up across the globe in all the major nations that can afford it, and even those that can't afford it, they get themselves into more debt so that they can set up this Wi-Fi net, this encapsulating shell around the planet of all these interconnected Wi-Fi transmitters, just saturating us with EM smog. So one of the comments on the bottom of the article read out, electrosmog kills and can even be used to brainwash people. I won't read all of it. The comment does sort of get the point across. He does mention some, I'll read that out. Read Dirty Electricity by Stanley Milham and The Body Electric by Robert Becker, MD. Yes, there's plenty of empirical scientific evidence of how these kind of EM fields and frequencies, waves, etc., including radio waves, but primarily it's got much stronger with modern technology using microwaves. That is what is in most Wi-Fi transmitters, is quite condensed microwaves, microwave emitters. We are saturated in this EM smog, and they are rapidly converting how your economy and how your society itself functioned in a real world environment, in a hands-on kind of physicality, empirical way is being pushed into the virtual world. Everything's been digitized. It is actually quite difficult to lead what they would call a normal life if you don't have access to the internet and certain other things such as, you know, bank accounts and stuff like that, which is all done via this new big virtual cloud system. And yes, I could go quite extensively into that romanticised argument of getting back to the land and disconnected in an almost Luddite fashion, Amish fashion of no electricity, no phone, no connection in any way whatsoever, etc. You could do that. I feel that arguably is not really what we need to do to that extreme. Human beings are very ingenious, and there's plenty of technology out there that can show that we can do this kind of stuff without these kind of detrimental effects, or we can do them in alternative ways. Yeah. There are plenty of other ways of doing this stuff such that we're not saturating ourselves in what are most likely carcinogenic fields of energy, because they are disrupting the frequencies of your very existence. I know that might sound a bit too way out there for some people, but when you get to the realization and acceptance that everything is frequency, there is no physicality to anything. I don't know, a lot of people will have difficulty with that because they'll say the usual arguments of, well, I can't walk through a wall. But everything is energy, and it's that energy vibrating, and by vibrating it creates a frequency. So therefore, if you try to force other frequencies into or through that frequency, you are going to disrupt it in one way or another. So there's some interesting pictures of EM fields, or an artist's impression of how EM fields would look if you could see them. Would you be more opposed to having them there if you could actually see them? If they were like, you know, fog or smog, so you'd actually be walking through it not being able to see much further than the hand in front of your face. You know, in the UK we do get some quite dense fogs, so if you've ever experienced that, you know the kind of thing I mean. You know, people might be more inclined to question the ubiquitous installation and acceptance of this stuff if it had that kind of direct physical imposition into their perception. Transhumanism, hand in hand with Agenda 21. Are they attempting to mould our image of these real monsters into virtual, etheric, phantom, illusionary monsters that we can dismiss as cultural fairy tales, allowing them to continue with their centralisation and their monopolisation of all and everything, and their convincing people of their separation and lack of sovereignty, and thereby creating the whole paradigm of ownership and scarcity, etc., control. Yes, I'm going to play a couple of more bits which I wanted to play. I'm going to wind it back to mentioning again, you know, it's tied into that Agenda 21 thread, mentioning the lovely coincidence of how hot and sunshiny the weather was here for those few weeks just before the birth of this new royal psychopath. Yes, have they been playing with the weather? Do they play with the weather? Yes, I will be back soon in about 10 minutes. Hello, welcome back. What did I play? I played Kate Bush, Cloud Busting, Yeah, is that related to the weather? Yeah, could be. There's lots of other threads woven into that as well, if you bother to research that whole topic. The orgonite, etc., zapping clouds, all that kind of stuff anyway, yes. And eurythmics, sweet dreams. Some of them want to abuse you and some of them want to be abused. These psychopathic mindsets. Do they want to abuse you? I'm sort of winding it round to last thing I want to mention. There seems to have been a fair bit of this recently. It happened to Luke Rudowski as well not that long ago. I think it's just a regular tactic that they use. It just so happens that the independent and alternative media and press, etc., is now making enough of an impact that they're taking more steps against them. I'm putting a link in the chat room for this was posted by Stormcloud's Gathering. Find it on his YouTube channel. Breaking attempted setup of Stewart, Rhodes and Dan Johnson with child porn. This was I think a Google Hangout thing broadcast that they then uploaded to YouTube, but it's quite recent, from within the last few days, and fairly obviously from the title, talking in relevance to the fact that other people have also been targeted for this kind of set-up job, as happened to Luke Rudowski of We Are Change recently. And you'll probably find this has happened to lots of other people that don't happen to be names in such a way that I can name drop them to point you a reference to. There's probably a lot of people out there doing various things in the alternative media or just within their own community that get targeted in this kind of fashion. And this is not to necessarily give any evidence or argument for the perpetrators being part of some governmental alphabet soup agency. It might be, it might not be. But the relevant point is that somebody out there will use these kind of tactics against you, potentially. Maybe not you directly, you know. I think it's primarily down to just how active you are in that online sense, or what kind of topics you're taking interest or taking part in. You know, other certain topics will have a greater defence value to them for those people that wish to do this kind of stuff. In the same manner, I know I've mentioned this several times before over the preceding months, and I think it does just go hand in hand with the growth of the internet and the use of the kind of social media and the rise of the alternative media that's gone along with it. There has been a rapid growth, almost exponential growth in the number of trolls, whether they be direct trolls in the sense of people who just post abusive stuff on your channels or to your blogs or whatever, or whether they be more subtle and they'll attempt to use debilitating or denigrating language, negative language, to alter your frequency, to put you in a bad mood, or to just make you uncertain or unsure or paranoid or fearful or insecure, or all that kind of stuff. They attempt to play on people's fears and insecurities. And it's not just trolls, obviously. In amongst that is definitely the provocateurs, the agents, the manipulators, those people who are doing it deliberately for some kind of agenda, whether that be a state-operated agenda or not. You know, they could just be trying to propagandise their own point of an argument. You know, one side or the other. You must either be on my side or you are the enemy. You are the infidel. You are the problem. We will wipe you out. Rah! Yeah, there has been a lot more of that, and as I say, it can easily be said to follow along with the rise of the internet. But I felt it's certainly at the moment worth mentioning to just remind people to not become too complacent. Fear is not your enemy. Fear itself is not your enemy. Fear is a sense. It is a way that your body, your mind, your spirit helps you to exist. Fear makes you aware of danger. That is the I think that, what could you describe it as, the learning point, or the realization, the epiphany that comes with that realization that the fear is just another tool of you, of your body, of your mind, of your spirit. You can succumb to it and subject yourself to the false evidence appearing real version of fear, the debilitating version of fear, or you can work through it. You can accept it as being another sense, just like your sense of touch, your sense of taste, sense of smell, etc. It is your heightened sense of survival. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of paranoia. It helps you live. In the same way, fear is not your enemy. Anybody who says they are truly unafraid, I think, is a little bit deluded in some fashion. They're denying something about themselves, or they're being dishonest. Everybody has fears. Everybody attempts to work through them in one way or another, hopefully. Yeah, I think most of us do. Even from the littlest to the greatest, even from what might seem an insignificant fear to one person would be the ultimate fear to another. We all have them. It's part and parcel of your existence. It enables your existence. It is not your enemy. But as part of that awareness, you should not become complacent, not forget about the fact that if something is occurring that makes you suspicious, makes you feel a little bit paranoid, maybe makes you a bit fearful that if you continue along this route it might end up being a dark dead end, it might be worth stopping and considering and checking your surroundings and checking in with your other senses and going, does it smell like a turd? Yes. Does it look like a turd? Yes. Does it feel like a turd? Yes. How far you want to take this for confirmation value is up to you, but I think you get the point. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of paranoia. Just don't let it get control of you and take charge. That is the ego game. In that kind of vein, I've shared that link because I think it's worth people checking out. Keep an eye on for your own communications, in that sense of being careful about downloading stuff. I can't give you any kind of technical bullet point way of dealing with these kind of potentialities because it's somewhat relative to your computer system, your software, your situation, etc. And at the same time, it mostly comes down to common sense. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. All that glitters is not gold. I could reel out a lot of cliches. Hopefully, I think you get the point. Along those lines, I'll give you a link which I think I might have shared before, but share it again because I think it's valuable in relation to this kind of topic. This is more addressing the kind of troll side of this whole situation, environment that we're in. Find this on zengardener.com. The 25 rules of disinformation. It's a bit of a long article, so I won't go through it. Well, longish. It's not that long. It'll only take you about 10 minutes to read. But check through it. It gives some good pointers of sniffing out, being aware of whether something is likely to be that turd or not. Is it disinformation? Is this person disingenuous? Are they attempting to play some kind of game with you? Are they just trolling you? Are they avoiding the issue? Are they not really addressing the reality of the situation? Are they deluded in some manner? Whatever. It all adds in to that armoury, that pile of ammunition that you have to deal with this mass media information flow that we're all dealing with. If you're here, you're attempting to deal with it for whatever your reasons are, and however you encounter it, you are having to sift through all this stuff to try and find what it is you're looking for. So read that when you get the chance. And like I say, fear is not your enemy. A little bit of paranoia won't do you good. Be aware of this kind of stuff. It will go on. It does go on. It has gone on. It's a tried and tested tactic that they use to character assassinate people. I mean, in relation to this particular methodology of injecting dubious files onto people's computers or getting them to accept downloading such content, not only in the sense of it being child porn, but also just the fact that viruses and things like that, Trojans, whatever, just takes a little bit of common sense. And normally I would, or have been in recent times anyway, trying to give you links that are a bit more like positive stuff, but I don't have anything else at the moment other than, like, as I say, for me it felt relevant to share that link again for the 25 rules of disinformation, because that is a positive thing to take on board. A major part of this whole change, or this process that is ongoing and occurring at the moment that you are living through, is that sharing of information. And in that sharing of information, you are educating yourself. To what level, what degree is, again, it's relative to you, your situation, the things you choose to focus your attention and intent upon, the things you read, etc., etc. I think you get the point. I keep using that phrase a lot recently. There is that big sharing, that big conversation going on. So accessing bits of knowledge or argument or philosophies or perceptions that help you to sift or to better your process of filtering through all this stuff, surely that's helpful. Surely that's better for you, better for all those other people that you encounter and interact with, and in the same manner pass it on. Like I've talked about the trivium before and things like that, and also I often and commonly come back to, it's why it's virtual shamanizing, come back to the addressing your humanity and accepting yourself and looking for yourself, your true self, not your layers of ego mask delusion that are built up through this, what is called day-to-day normal life existence, and reconnecting with and remembering that connection that you have to everything and everyone else. Yes, anyway, I think I've rambled enough. Like I said, I thought it might be a bit short this evening. There's been a lot of distraction with all the baby stuff and everything else, and as I said before, me editing those various shows and getting them uploaded, while at the same time trying to keep up with the general churn of the news cycle and the conversation of everything. I know other people have mentioned this recently. It seems to be another one of those topics, maybe not a dominant or prominent one, but it's certainly another one of those topics at the moment. There's a lot of individuals and groups and whatever calling for funding and help and crowdsourcing and donations and whatever else to try and help them keep going, or to expand to another level so they can reach a bigger audience and stuff like that. This whole process, you see, is accelerating. As I suggested not that long ago, I feel we're already past the tipping point. We're already past that 100th monkey effect. The 100th monkey effect has already happened, and we're now seeing that exponential growth of this new way of living. This it's still ongoing as well, remember. It's not finalised. You haven't finished the redecoration process yet. Change is constant, and it's constantly changing, and we're constantly attempting to steer this direction, this arrow of time. Yeah, it's virtual shamanizing because I, as I say, try to keep reminding people that you are a human being. That means you have emotions as well as logic. Logic is a really useful tool. It's an invaluable tool to you, yes, but it's not the be-all and end-all of everything. It's not the whole picture. It's only one half of the argument. And you are not just a physical, selfish DNA machine. You are more than that. You are an electrical being. You are a spiritual being. Again, being purely empiricist, purely obsessed with that quantifiable reality, 3D, 4D existence, is only part of the picture. It's not the whole picture. But yes, I've rambled quite a lot now. I feel myself digressing too much, so I think I will leave it there. As I say, hopefully that will at least be of some use to you. Maybe not so uplifting as I usually try to put in. Well, I'm going to play a couple of tracks to wind it out, which hopefully will pick that frequency back up a little bit. Take care, folks. Keep talking. Keep learning. Keep evolving. Keep creating. Keep progressing. Keep on keeping on. They ain't shut us up yet. First they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they fight you, and then you win. Yes, it's ongoing, folks. Keep going, keep evolving.